Comoros Modern Media Center.
Thank you very much. First of all, before I answer your questions, that school have been closed. Yes, the school have been closed. How do I perceive this decision taken by the government? First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming and getting our impressions about the situation we are living today with regards to this pandemic. Coming back to your question, I think the decision was very wise because we have noticed that during these past 2 or 3 weeks, particularly in various schools, most of the children have been contaminated by this virus. So even not only they could feel asymptomatic, but once they get home, their parents could be contaminated, as we have seen that some parents have been contaminated and some of them died. Unfortunately, we present our deep regrets and our deep condolences. So I think personally that the decision to close the school was very wise. And not only that, because the government was pushed by the parents. It's, as we realized, it's some parents from certain schools, private schools, as well as some public schools, who have put the pressure on the government to close the schools because they were also feeling the risk of being contaminated. So I think in some way it was a wise decision to close the schools while we're waiting for the mastering of this particular situation. So I think that was wise. Considering your second question with regards to the students themselves and if this decision was psychologically in favor of the children or not. Well, personally, I feel that with regards to the children themselves, the decision doesn't do them any good because, as you know, the children are have the habit of finding themselves within the schools, with their friends, as well as in front of the teachers. So this time they have been confined, locked down, to stay at home. But how are they going to be able to follow the courses or to study? Because as well as the children and the teachers themselves, they feel as if they are on holidays. Because I mean in our country, because in other countries they have developed that kind of experience of working online. So children receive their programs, children receive their works at home, they download their works, and then they send their homework to the teachers and to the schools. So therefore, for us in the Comoros, the situation is a little bit difficult with regard to the children. So therefore, we need a lot of work to do. And particularly, I'm not looking particularly at this situation because we have lived this situation last year. And I think from last year's experience, we could have had a kind of forum to discuss about what happened last year, or the positions which were taken, the schools online, was it successful or not? How did it happen? What was the psychological impact on the children? Because from last year, we could have had a better preparation for this coming year. So the government In your third question, yes, they would like to put online or education by internet. Personally, I think it's a very, very good idea because this is the general trend in most of the countries, particularly European countries, not only European countries, but even in some African countries such as South Africa and so on, Kenya, and all courses are online. But they have a kind of experiences, long-term experiences in working online. But for the Comoros, last year was a first experience. And did it work? Because as we saw, we followed some courses on the national television or on the national radio. But what was the impact on the students? And of course, for some students, it was easy. For those who have who live in the major cities, who have a network, or who have a television, or who have a computer, who can follow the courses. But what's the problem of the majority? Because the majority of the students who live in all those villages, they don't have access to television, they don't have access to even electricity. So how can we develop education online or internet? Although we should think very seriously about the future, because this is the general tendency for the future. It's education online and extramuros, out of the schools, out of schools education. This is the general tendencies. So how can we do that? Because I think as in your last question, to help the students, right, what can be done with regards to their pedagogical acquisition and so on? I think this is a very serious question because we all agree that no country can advance without education. So education, infrastructure, health, and sanitation are three of the major important things, elements in any country. So but in countries like the Comoros, let's think of Japan. Japan, they don't have minerals, but they rely on the education of the children. So what should we do? We need to have a kind of a national forum, yes, to sit down and think about what has happened and how are we going to face the future? Because we need lots of money to invest in education. We need to adapt the schools, or we need to provide smartphones and tables for our children, for all our children, or computers for our children, because there are some countries which can produce small computers for school children. Why can't we think about it seriously? Because more or less, this is what is going to happen in the future. Maybe. So this is what we need to do right now, just to sit, have this forum at this period of time while the children are getting themselves prepared. We need to train teachers. We need to acquire the real material. We need to have the for high debit for the internet and so on. So this means a lot of investment. And if we really think that the country cannot advance, cannot go forward without education, this is the time to think seriously about the education. If we really want our children tomorrow, who are going to be the leaders of this country tomorrow, to acquire the appropriate knowledge which will allow them to lead the country in a better future.
Comoros Modern Media Center.